Hey guys, Boris here. I hope the first few games of the new set have been going amazing for all of you. Today we're going to be focusing on the prime lose streak line into the current meta, which is the Mech line. The conditions that you're looking for to play this line is something that is able to pump a maximum amount of power into your Mech units. Therefore, you are looking for either very strong econ augments to synergize with your loss streak and playing around some form of an econ engine, or having some of the augments such as the Golden Dragon, which makes your mech pretty much invincible. Twin Guardians is very strong as well, and Expedition, which is able to provide you with a Radiant Refractor where you can make the Radiant Stoneplate, which is absolutely insane onto this mech unit. Otherwise, artifacts also are great. I've listed some here that are amazing for the Aurelian Soul, as well as Silverman Dawn for the Mikey Mech is top tier. Now, for itemization, Mech's itemization is almost hard bis, where you want Stoneplate, Sterak's, and Titans. However, it is fine to drop the Titans for a second Stoneplate as long as you do not see too many Blitzcrank players in the lobby, as that can ruin your life. Therefore, for components, we either focus on Rhodes and Tears for our Aurelion, as he wants pure AP and does not apply on cast effects. Otherwise, I personally found a great success of prioritizing the Mighty Mech components myself. Therefore, for our gods, we love having Kale, which can provide us with an extra amount of items and then increase our chances of finding a third item carry online very early. Otherwise, Yasuo is absolutely amazing. The Ice Hex for Mech just keeps him alive as long as possible, and your win condition is stalling as long as possible for your Aurelion to deal the damage. And then you can take Fire, Electric, and Wind. Just recall to take 2 out of 3 of the Yasuo blessings, as you gain 12 gold if you do not have a third one. Also to note, Anomaly is quite good on Aurelion Soul as well, so that can replace one of your items, which generally is going to be something, either one of the pure AP items that you're going to make, as Death Cap is amazing for this unit as well. Otherwise, we can also play around Anima as one of our options, and Anima items are very strong into this comp as well. Having the tank anima items on the Mikey Mech, where you can quite easily achieve 300 cash out if you're going for a full 10 loss and then send it on 4-1 and hopefully have some form of an econ augment. Something like Patience is Virtue is amazing for this comp as well. Now, when we do arrive at our roll down, we want to be quite flexible and we should definitely be focusing on hitting our mech units. We can skip other upgrades pretty much quite easily as long as we are able to secure these mech upgrades, as they're going to be taking 2 team slots, and you can be flexible with the rest of the slots. As I've outlined here, the general course to play around is Maokai, Akali, as they're going to provide some utility for you, and then survivability through the Maokai. Then having Bard is the general default, but on level 8 you're probably going to be fighting a Karma. And however, if you find an early Kench, you can be playing around something like a Master Yi and another Psionic if you have a good Psionic item, or just having attacking in a Fiora and a Mordekaiser can work quite well, as long as you are able to find your mech upgrades. Those are crucial. And if you are able to play around this Tom Kench, you're going to be having the resource influx. You can even hold on a pair, for example, of Aurelion Soul, and the Tom Kench is going to be able to print you the 2-star. Then you are quite on your way to be making it to level 9, where you can start to capping around these 5 costs, and at this point you can even drop down to 4 mech by keeping the Mighty Mech in the mech form and having the complementary damage from all these other 5 costs. Without further ado, let's jump in game with a pro playing this line and see how they manage to capitalize on the spot and go for a win out. For our review, we are going to be jumping in game here with Deisik. One of the top EU players, made World's Final Lobby once again. Unfortunately hasn't won a tournament in quite a while, at least a bigger one that he would be proud of, but extremely consistent player and generally has amazing meta reads and fundamental skills. We are starting out here with a Caitlyn pair, and generally only holding onto this Caitlyn is an option if you are committing to play to Nova, which should be enabled by emblems, or if you're playing around the Stargazer reroll. The opener in itself is quite strong, however it does not exactly lead you into many meta lines apart from something like a LeBlanc, as Caitlyn is going to hold the Rageblade and then you are pretty much hard forced to slam something like a GS and a Gunblade on her. But we are able to pick up a Nasus too and a Teemo pair as well, so that's another reroll out that we can be playing. So currently, I did not note the Stargazer, but we have a possibility to be playing for some form of a 1-cost reroll. He has a return for us, so let's see. 2 tanky here would be simply we can only play this right now in Samira. It's quite strong in Samira, but getting there is going to be quite hard, and we have a sword which has a potential. The Jax hero augment unfortunately is just simply too understated. and we would really want something like a Rage Blade already to slam on it if you are going to be playing into it. I would advise holding against it. Replication is something we wanted to tempo from our components. Our slam at the moment is a BT, and we do not exactly have a great holder. We have this orb here that we have not picked up, and maybe we're going to do so. Yes, we are. So we have a... Now we have more likely going to be slamming a Sterak's Gauge, but still don't have a carry for it, so not going to be too excited about that. Frontline Foundation is quite nice. The top players are going to be ranking these emblems extremely high, especially in these spots like this where we do not have a clear direction what to be playing for, and with the Mortar Forgers we always can try to manipulate the emblem we're going to be getting, so if it's our comp. Blood Offering would be more of a Riven Yi kind of comp thing, but again, we do not have a way to tempo off this, and on 2-1 if you take it to item augment, you want to be tempoing. Spreading Roofs here seems more appealing potentially than the Frontline Foundation. The 3-2 version is better since it provides you with a Reforger, but this again provides you with 2 items which give you a tempo and provide you with an option to be playing for, just providing you clear direction what you're going to be playing for, right? So we do get a Primordial and an Arbiter emblem. Ideally able to find another Primordial unit here in order to be able to start farming these gold. And we have also held on to the Tezreal from before. Obviously, you're going to be holding on to any form of a Timebreaker unit you can on the stage 1 in order just to be playing for that extra econ that you are able to, unless your board seems to be extremely strong. So we're able to pick the 2 Timebreaker right now as well. And if you're able to find another Primordial unit, which hopefully we're able to, we should be able to start printing out quite a lot of gold. And generally, now that we have committed to a loss streak, we want to be playing for a line that has a potential to either win out or secure as a very safe top 4 placement. This mech line is great at securing those top 4s. It's going to have a little bit harder of a time unless you have something very strong that enables it. Something like the Yasuo Hexes or an extremely strong augment to compete with the highest cap of LeBlanc boards or Fast 9 boards, but as long as you have your Mech 2-star, you're going to be very strong. Now we find that Belveth here, so we can definitely be just stacking the 3 Primordial here. We are opting to hold on to these anima units as well. He's already seems that he might not even sell them, perhaps, or he's evaluating if he wants to do so. Hopefully we're able to lose this. They have 2 upgraded units, but he's recognizing the strength of these anima items on this mech line. Now, if you're slotting in the anima just on 3-1, you on from a full loss streak, you're guaranteed to be cashing out a 300 on 4-1, and that's going to work out quite well. We have the Echo's offering. This is why Echo is one of the better gods. You are able to get an artifact, and since you're playing for a loss streak, this being delayed 8 rounds, which counts PV rounds, is not bad for ourselves. Kale is good since she can give a Radiant, but that's going to be a random Radiant. But on either one of the, as long as you've made good slams on either one of the mech units is quite fine. And if you're unable to tailor it for something like the mech, which would be the Stoneplate or the Sterak's, which are performing the best. Now, still debating on the idea of we wanted to stop attacking anima, but we sacrificed that, making the 20 there to just hold on to these anima units, which is a... Generally, we can see how high he values this, right? Before that, you definitely wanted to have the opportunity to be, like, in most cases, to be making that 20 gold there, because it's a compelling interest since you're not at 50 yet, but he's valuing this extremely high, and that's a play that some players might miss. Now we have picked up the Briar, then now let's see if what he values to be the most value out of his board. I'm going to be leveling to level 5 here in order to play 3 anima 2 Timebreaker. That is simply going to, I believe, be the most gold per turn, or most value, since anima has a potential to give you different kinds of cash outs. And perhaps if we're attacking it here right now, we could be potentially able to also cash out 400. We'll have to see how that goes and how much HP we're able to preserve. Are we going to be in a position where we're forced to roll on 4-1 or not? Now that we're level 5, we should be completely fine to be winning the Krugs round here. You have to be noting, if you're going for a full loss streak, just for safety, sometimes level here on level 5 to not lose the Krugs, because otherwise your component, especially as here, you could be losing out the component tunnel, which is insane. And then the reason why loose streaking is so great into this line is since your mech unit items are pretty much hard bis. Still also carrying around this Maokai, as that's one of the ways we can generally be capping around this board. Going to be having to trap here, recognizing that we have playing into another loose streak line. The loose streakers are going to be quite prominent, so always have to be wary to secure these loose streaks. Getting this extra gold is absolutely crucial for you, as you are seeking for very specific units to be upgraded on your roll down. Therefore, any kind of augments that can also provide you with extra gold are amazing for you. On our next augment selection here, seeing the bronze for life, unfortunately we're unable to play into the Victor comp. Min-max here would be fine, as it could allow us with potential to sort our components. I believe this to be the best option right now, as Lucky Gloves is generally just a lower cap, and we are playing from a lost streak. We're not exactly in a spot to be going for a level 9 full cap where this could potentially shine. Jude Lotus is not actually that bad of an option if you are unable to get a JG. Now, I would still prefer getting our items sorted here, as items are going to be more power. Now, New Recruit is also an interesting option. This opens up another flex slot for ourselves, and since we have these emblems, we could be potentially looking to form some kind of board around that. Obviously, we're most likely going to be reforging this Primordial emblem, and could also perhaps rip the reforge on the Arbiter emblem ourselves. And another win con that you can go for is getting this Aurelian Solo Mech. Generally Aurelian, but Mech 3 is also available, since not a lot of players are playing that unit. Tiny but Deadly is in your melee comps, would be great in something like a Primordial reroll, but not exactly what you're looking for. Now let's see what he's going to prio in his term of his items. Now we have a single cloak, so I would assume that we might just pick up a glove here. Yeah, I'm going to pick up a glove, as we want this. The first item we want to be sorting out for Aurelian is going to be the Jewel Gauntlet, and he's holding on to this next component, perhaps going to be popping it during the God selection in order to make simply the best decision. And we are already mapping out the board. Under no pressure to push level 6 on the previous round, we're able to just sit here, going to be saving the tech, as we are not interested in the lower tier cash outs, and we're still losing. We are completely fine to be holding on to this anima right now. Still, we see that there are quite few weak players now. Unfortunately, we keep dodging them and cannot get them out of our pool, but in the deal scenario, we would be able to gauge the board strengths and make potentially some slams in order to save some lives, as you want to be ideally, and you really do not want to be a single life when you're performing your roll down. It's a complicated roll down, and if you do not prepare yourself for it, as you're going to be needing to use these mech selectors, which is going to be quite a lot of APM, and as well as you might just simply have the time limit after the PV is limited if you're going for a 4-1 roll down. Now, Blessing of Speed is an option, as well as, again, talking about funneling power into these 2-slot units is always going to be amazing. We're not really too excited, I believe, about another sword and a cloak. Therefore, I would be leaning forwards this tier as going to become Archangels or a Void Staff, which are generally fine items. But let's see. Now he's going to be going with this pick of a sword. So let's another cloak. Now potentially we could just be reforging it. We did not unfortunately see any of the rods or bows or chains that we would be looking for into this spot. So and we did not pop our anvil there, so perhaps missed that play there. And still trying to dodge this loose streaker player, to open up on this loose streakers player. So it definitely seems to be playing from a quite low of a spot. Going to be going for a guard breaker, which is also a completely fine item, a way to utilize this cloak, as you're going to be having that crit from Akali. So getting a Jewel Gauntlet is simply more in stats of raw AP, but since we you have multiple ways of using these rods, Guardbreaker is completely fine. Also opted to slam this BT, which is an okay substitute for this mech, to have him at 3 items, but afterwards we're going to want to transition it into a melee carry, something like an Urgot or our Master Yi, or a Fiora in the end of the game. Now we finally queue into this loose streaking player. They have managed to get that Kench. Having a Kench is an insane value, as this is obviously another resource generator for you, and if you're fully low streaking, you have a decent chance of finding him at 3-5 or one of your mech units, so that also provides you a little bit of a value right there. Now our cash out here is a Mittens, which is going to be, since we have that extra team slot, we definitely should be able to potentially slot in another melee unit later on, but for now we're going to be funneling items in Urgot, as again he's going to be taking up 2 team slots when transformed, and if you're able to itemize these units fully, they're doing an insane amount of damage. Now it seems that we recognize that we are still quite poor since we did not hit an econ augment, and we have potentially some reforges that we want to be doing. Therefore, not going to be pushing on 4-1 and having to play pretty much for my single life if we take a bad loss here. Sorting our using this time to sort our items out and still holding on to these reforgers. Potentially, I would have already tried to jam these emblems and perhaps maybe see an option how we're going to be flexing our roll down. But since we have this Maokai and Akali, we have the opportunity to be making sure. Now, for our augment selection, I already saw the Find Your Center there. That is another amazing item for the mech unit. Tower, we already have the Stone Play sorted, and we have that single frontline unit. The tower is just simply not needed. Stand United is we're not playing a white board, and Find Your Center, just getting max health onto this guy, making him invincible is the key how you're going to be winning the fights. Group Hug, we're running less units, so it's not going to be useful. That Electro Charge is not exactly what we need. Cashing out that Anima right now. Unfortunately, not doing a get an item, so that's actually, I assume this was exactly the reason why we were holding on to this Reforger, as in case we do get an random item that we're not exactly excited about, we are going to be wanting to reforge that. And as you can see, skipping every other upgrade until we get to this mech and potentially and only upgrading these 2 units, finding that Marauder Emblem which can work as a pseudo frontline item for now, and unfortunately we do get another Primordial Emblem just back again, but we find that anime item which is amazing on as a tank item for this mech, especially with a Stone Plate, in which case you do drop your Titans for that. And generally, if you have these Reforgers, I would advise going for this anime item, for tank anime item as well. But simply have to be wary with any form of a Blitzcranks in the lobby. Now, unfortunately, our carry here at the moment is this Urgot 1 more than a power. But if you're able to 2-star him, we should be in a prime spot to be trying to win out the rest of the stage. Are we still holding on to this anvil instead of popping it for our god selection? It seems maybe he has a particular plan. Now for our state, we have simply rolled out, and as we saw, playing this without an econ augment can put you in rough positions, so you have to be flexible and manage your econ well, avoid unnecessary upgrades. Therefore, and we're wanting to align ourselves with Echo so we can get that anomaly here for our Aurelion, as at the moment it only has a single item, and that's our top priority to be sorting out right away. Unfortunately, we had used our golden dupe onto the mech there to be able to stabilize our board, and we do get offered another one, but able to fully send it now to find another Urgot, and I believe that we're just going to be slamming a Jewel Gauntlet here as well. And yeah, actually the great read here was to be also making that Guardbreaker here. It's very good on Urgot, as simply him being able to, he's hitting pretty hard, and having some crit on him is very valuable. As you can see, he's topping the damage there. Obviously this is the Marauder Emblem ASOL, but still he's better than something like a Yi2. If you for example, if you roll down and find a Yi2, still itemize this Urgot too. That's the best advice I can perhaps give you to avoid gold sinks. And filleting Fiora from these low HP spots is going to be amazing, as she is able to heal you up as well. Also, slotting in Bard over, if you're not making Karma 2, is going to be a little bit more value, as you're able to rebound your econ through the stolen units. And we have utilized this extra unit slot that we gained from new recruit in order to slot in for Marauder, which also obviously pumps in extra power into our Urgot. Here we would be looking ideally for no, we are going to have a mech, it's third Aurelion item, so we could be looking for, I'm not exactly sure, maybe we want to be slapping out an Urgot item. He's trying to see if he can dig for something specific. Right, we probably want anti-heal, right? We want to be sorted. Yes, we do not have anti-heal. Have to remember to sort out your utility. So we're going to be sorting that out and just tossing these on the Maokai right here. An interesting choice to be moving that Marauder emblem onto the board, and also this positioning way. So Durgat is going to linger back a little bit, so perhaps this is how he gains a little bit more uptime. And you simply do not have to be going for this full backline positioning with the Maokai either, as long as the mech is able to draw that aggro. And now that since we are not Bite Anomaly is quite good on the Aurelion, is generally quite decent on any form of AP casters, as the true damage component that it does is quite good, and it's definitely going to be helping you to get through these declaws. And we can see there's a huge ass Cho'Gath right there with a declaw that could be a potential threat and outstall us if the fight drags on too long, obviously. I would assume that he's... Yeah, so perhaps he's seeing that Marauder emblem on the board as a potential to generate extra econ. I would assume that's one of the ways how we can be approaching this. And now we're simply going to be again making our way to level 9, trying to probably find this 2-star Fiora, and for our last slot we can be slotting in any form of a Voyager unit, just gaining a little bit of an extra damage amp and that extra shield in the later stages of the game to keep your Mech alive is quite fine. As we can see, he slotted in that Karma right there. And we can see that was a 2-star Sona. That was a 2-star Sona had a pseudo Victor board, and we get simply rolling them over the power budget into these comps. This is the thing that they had worried about whenever you're having these 2-slot units. Balancing them can be quite of an issue, and so far we can see that there's immense power in them. Sorting out our anti-armor right there, and since the Urgot is lingering back, we're completely fine to be moving that BT over to the Fiora without much issues. And now we're queuing into this heavy as a crown Cho'Gath, and let's see how we fare against them. They do not really have that backline support going for them. They still haven't hit that Kai'Sa tree, and we're able to take them down. And our Mech is just simply fully tanking. As you can see, he's also providing that extra damage with this anima item, and the anima item in itself steals armor and magic resist from your opponent, so even making this Mech tankier. And I did not see any form of a Blitzcrank in our matchups, so we're completely safe into this point. Maybe this person had a Blitzcrank, but it did not knock our Mech back, so we're able to run them over. And again, they do not have this damage for ourselves. And the Urgot with this artifact is quite beast. They can see, not the ideal, the suggested artifact, but even then, as long as you're able to identify any form of artifact that could be working, it's going to be pumping a lot of power into these Mech units for you. And now we steal an Elder Dragon, so that's going to be another way how we can fill out that last slot. If we did not have that Marauder emblem, and assume we had one team slot less, we could just be simply not playing the Fiora here right now, and have that Mech being there, being that Elder Dragon there as well, as this Elder Dragon unit is just absolutely bonkers as well, providing you with extra amount of damage. Did not do too much there, 2000, but if you're able to get him to be attacking multiple targets, he's doing quite well. And it's a 6000 HP body in front that in case your Mech falls, you're still able to stall a little bit longer for your Aurelion Soul. Now we can see we are in the top 2 against this Vex player who has made it to level 10, and now they have this 2-star Blitzcrank. That is a potential threat for ourselves. So he's perhaps adjusting his positioning in a way that maybe he's able to get this Blitzcrank to knock something else out. Not exactly too sure, but he wants to also get the maximum amount of value from these Urgot damage spreads that he's doing. And still, even though our Mech got, I believe, knocked back a little bit, he's getting back in there, and that was, although it Ghost Fight, we were quite fine. Slotting in the 2 Voyagers, we do not see the Rast value being that high. Morgana is absolutely amazing, as it's simply providing extra durability. Mech's ability gives you durability, so stacking durability is one of the stats that you actually are completely cool with stacking, and is going to be even more invincible. Now into the real, let's see how we fare. The Mech got knocked back, but we simply have this Fiora too that's also a great support, and we're able to take a double kill, and we have healed up immense amount, and so it did not even seem like a 1 HP win out, but an absolutely masterfully played game by Deisik, identifying that we're not going to be having that strong of a board. However, even though we picked a augment that could provide us with a clear direction, we use it to generate econ, hold on to those anima units early on, and firmly sacrifice econ just to increase our cap even more, and then finding the augment that's going to funnel even more power into our units. All the choices that we made here throughout this game were to ensure that, and we were able to hard stabilize by not spending gold on necessary units, and from there make our way to level 9 and 10, where we reach the maximum cap, and we're still able to beat out some of these high capped boards around 5 cost, such as this one. I would like to thank you for watching, and I hope that you learned something more about this neckline, and I wish to see you in the next one. And as mentioned, the sheet is going to be, the picture of the sheet is going to be down below there, and I'm going to be providing the full sheet as the later point when I have added all the finishing touches and all the other components of it as well. Have a good one.